everyone, welcome back to my channel and to another video. I hope you're all really well. So today you're joining me on a sewing day and I have something really exciting to start sewing up today. Today I'm going to be working on my dream Valentine's Day dress. So this is actually part of a collaboration with Makerist and myfabrics.co.uk. I'm sure you've already heard of Makerist before and I'm sure you've probably heard of myfabrics. But I will link all of their details and websites down below so that you can pop over and check them out if you aren't familiar with them already. So Makerist and myfabrics over on Instagram are running a challenge together, and the idea is that you create a mood board or a sketch or an image or something of your ideal dream Valentine's Day outfit. So it doesn't have to be a dress, it can be any kind of outfit. Obviously, because I love dresses, I've gone for a dress today. So over on Instagram, I created a mood board of what my dream Valentine's Day dress would be. So you can see what my inspiration was and what kind of lines I was going along. So I'm not really a fan of the traditional sort of Valentine's Day red. I very rarely wear red, really. I think I've got about one garment in my wardrobe made from red fabric. So you'll see from my mood board that I've gone along the sort of pinks and pastel-y, ditzy floral kind of romantic vibe with a bit of vintage thrown in there as well. And while I was sort of thinking about my mood board and the kind of outfit that I'd like to recreate, I did actually have a good old look on Pinterest as well, which I love to do. I love to look at Pinterest and get outfit inspiration and sewing ideas and things like that. So in my Pinterest search, I came across a really, really lovely dress that I thought I would really like to have a go at recreating for my ideal Valentine's Day dress. So I'll just pop an image of that dress in here so that you can see what it looks like. It's really, really pretty and I absolutely love it. I have to say that wrap dresses are obviously really in at the moment because wrap dresses were everywhere on Pinterest. They're obviously coming back this summer. So there were loads of wrap dresses, loads of sort of really vintage, boho-y, puffy sleeved, frilly skirt type dresses are all still in as well. But I think I'm now settled on this wrap dress, which I really, really love. So I am going to be trying to recreate that dress today. So as a starting point for recreating that dress, I'm going to be using the Sew Over It Eve dress pattern. This is obviously a lovely wrap dress. This is actually one of my favourite patterns. I love this Sew Over It pattern. And this is my favourite kind of Sew Over It era. I loved Sew Over It when they were doing all the vintage styles. And I love these patterns as well. So I'm really glad that I managed to get the Eve dress while they were still sort of printing them in this style because I just love them. So yeah, I'm going to use the Eve dress as a base for recreating that dress. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the straight skirt here because I know that this dress, as always, it comes up quite long on me. And in the past I've made the straight skirt and I've had to shorten it quite a lot because obviously it does come up quite long on me. So what I'm actually going to do is leave it long so that it can be quite sort of midi length like it is in the picture. And then I'm just going to round off the two front pieces to give that sort of curved hem effect. So you might notice from this pattern that it does actually include pattern pieces for a high-low hem. But when I came to open my pattern, my pieces for the high-low hem weren't actually in the envelope, so I'm not sure quite what I did with them. I wonder if I actually thought that I wouldn't ever make that version and got rid of them. Doesn't seem very like me to do that, but yeah, they weren't there anyway. But because I know that this dress comes up quite long, I'm just going to round off the two front pieces. And then to give that sort of cap sleeve effect that the Pinterest dress has, I'm going to use the flutter sleeve from the other version of the Eve dress. And I'm just going to shorten it a little bit just to make it more of a cap sleeve rather than a bit of a longer flutter sleeve, if that makes sense. Just to show you how I made these alterations. This is the front piece of the dress and you can see, hopefully the camera will pick up that I've just rounded off this edge with my pattern master here just to give it a slightly curved hem. And I'm actually a bit nervous as to whether or not I've curved it high enough, but I'm going to leave it quite low to start with and then I'm going to pin it or try it on and then just see if I need to sort of take the curve in any more to give it more of a curved effect. But for now I've just sort of rounded off that squared edge to give it that curved hem. And then this is the pattern piece for the flutter sleeve, how it normally is. So I've just traced that off again. And then I've taken 3 centimetres off of the bottom of the sleeve And that's not by any kind of technical measurement, I've just done it by eye. So I've just shortened it so the amount that I think I want it to be as short as. In terms of the fabric that I'm going to be using, I am using this really lovely viscose crepe that was kindly sent to me by My Fabrics. I chose this one because I really love the colours in it. I love navy, as you probably know. There is a little bit of very dark pink in there, which could look like red, but I think it's quite dark pink actually. And then there's some mustard and some paler pinks in there as well. So yeah, I absolutely love this fabric, the normal kind of colours that I go for. So I was really drawn to this one. This does actually come in a cream colourway as well. So you can have the same print on a cream background, which I think would look really pretty as well. So I've actually cut out all my pieces already, and while I'm talking I'll have put in some footage of me cutting out just so that you can see if you are interested in the cutting out process. This is one of those funny fabrics that really crinkles up, so when I'd pre-washed it, it was all really crinkled in tight, and I thought, oh no, I'm never going to get all of my pattern pieces cut out of that. But when I ironed it flat again, there was actually enough width to get the skirt pieces out, because the skirt pieces of the Eve dress are really quite wide. So everything's cut out now, so I'm just going to get sewing and see how I get on. So first of all, I just needed to overlock all of the side seams and waist seams on the back skirt piece and the two front pieces. It's really nice coming back to a pattern that you made early on in the beginning of your sewing journey actually, because I remember feeling so unconfident sewing this the first time I made it, and it's really nice to come back to sewing it again feeling a little bit more confident and a little bit more like I know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm really excited to get this dress sewn up. Next I just needed to sew my side seams, and this fabric was so slippy, it just wanted to keep slipping off of the sewing machine, off the table all the time. So you might see in this video that I'm trying to guide it and pull the fabric out behind the sewing machine just so that I could keep the same seam allowance. But it is really pretty though, so I'll let it off. So that was a lesson in not being too overconfident in patterns that you've sewn at the beginning of your sewing journey, because I just actually managed to sew two side pieces of skirt together instead of a back to one side. So here we go again for round two. So my skirt's all sewn together at the side seams and everything, and I can tell already that this skirt is going to be a nightmare to hem. I don't know if you've made an Eve dress before. If you make it in viscose, you need to let it hang for a day before you hem it. And I remember the last time I made a version in viscose, it was an absolute nightmare to hem because the fabric kind of drops, and it was all uneven and everything, and I had to level it out. So I'm a little bit worried about how I'm actually going to hem this with the curved front now. Hadn't really thought about that. So I will cross that bridge when I come to it, but I really like this fabric, it's really pretty. So next I've got to overlock the waist seams and the side seams of the front bodice. So these are the front bodices. I'm trying not to handle them too much because I don't want that diagonal waist to stretch out of shape while I'm handling it. So it's a bit of a nightmare, this dress, and the fabric that you use, because everything stretches out. So that's what I'm going to do now, just overlock my waist seams and side seams of the front pieces. So what I'm doing here is just attaching the small yoke pieces to the two front sides of my dress. The dress has a really pretty gathered yoke shoulder seam, and yeah, it's really pretty, so that's what I'm doing now. So it's the next morning now, and last night I stopped filming because it was getting really dark and I needed to do the school run and everything, but I got to the stage of attaching my shoulder yoke pieces here. So basically the top goes like this, and you've got a really pretty gathered shoulder yoke piece here, and then it goes into your wrap here. So I think next I'm going to sew the side seams in the back, because the back is actually cut in 2 pieces because there's some slight shaping in there. So I need to sew those and overlock the edges, and then I need to attach the back and front pieces, and then I think I do the stay tape which runs around the V-neck of the front, and that's just put in to stop the front stretching out of shape and to give it a nice sort of V-neck shape. So I'll catch up with you along the way. I'm really excited to get on with this today and hope to get it finished up to the hemming stage, and then I'm going to have to leave it to hang, I think, before I hem it. So yeah, I'll catch up with you along the way. I just thought I'd show you this bit because you might be interested to see how the neckline is finished. So basically you have to stay the neckline because of the way that the V sections are cut on the bias. They can quite easily stretch out of shape. So at the front of the pattern there's a chart to tell you for which size you're making how much stay tape you'll need, and you mark out the sections on the stay tape of the bodice of the dress, if that makes sense. And then you pin it around the edge like I've done here, and you match up the points of the section. So there's a measurement for back neck from the centre back to your shoulder, and then from the shoulder to the yoke, and then all the way down the front. And quite often your bodice will have stretched slightly, so you need to kind of ease it into the stay tape so that it keeps its shape and size. I hope that makes sense. And it's a bit of a fiddle, let's just say. So it's just taken me ages to ease my front bodice pieces into this stay tape, because this front V section was slightly stretched out. So I did have a bit of easing to do there, but hopefully it will be okay and I'll be able to sew it in without any puckers or anything. So when that's done, you then just fold it into the inside after you've overlocked it, and then that just keeps everything nice and neat. So after I'd finished finally getting my stay tape in, I went on to sew my little flutter sleeves. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just hemming up the flutter sleeves, and then I'm going to set them into the bodice. I've just come for a quick try on, and I really like how it's looking so far, but I think annoyingly I'm going to have to leave it here for today, because I don't know if you can tell from the mirror, but the hem has really dropped at the side, so it's really uneven at the moment. So I think what I'm going to have to do is leave it overnight on my dress form and just let it drop and hang. And then tomorrow I'm going to have some levelling out to do, which will be fun. And then I'll be able to finish the dress, so I can't really do anything. So basically the whole of the dress needs to be overlocked right around the seams and right around the bottom of the hem. So I can't do any of that until the hem's actually been levelled off. So yeah, I'm going to leave it for today and I will see you tomorrow. Hi everyone, so it's Thursday now and the dress is finished. It's here on my dress form next to me. And honestly, I couldn't be more pleased with how it's turned out. So basically on Tuesday, I put the dress on my dress form, Lady McElroy here, and I just left it to hang overnight, and then on Wednesday afternoon yesterday I levelled out the hem because it should have dropped as much as it was going to by then, and then I levelled off the hem. And the way I did this was, I'll put a bit of time-lapsed footage in of me doing this yesterday just while I'm talking so you can see how I did it. So I worked out the longest part of the back of the dress because obviously that should be your longest point because it would look a bit weird if the back was shorter than the front. So I worked out the longest part of the back of the dress and then I worked from the ground up just to shorten and level all around the outside of the dress, and I just marked that point with pins. I think it was about 21 centimetres or something, so I just worked my way around the dress using my ruler, my quilting ruler, and just pinned at 21 centimetres all around the dress. It is quite a difficult thing to do and you have to be really careful that you're not sort of swishing the dress about too much because you've got to make sure that your pins are nice and straight. So that's the way that I find it easiest to do. But if you do have any suggestions of how to do it in a more easier way, then let me know in the comments below. So I just thought I'd show you, I've kept the part of the dress that I chopped off just to show you how much it had dropped. And that's how much I took off of the side. So it's a really interesting process that is, and I never would have thought back in the beginning of my sewing journey that viscose and fabric would stretch out like that just from hanging. And I'm really surprised actually that it doesn't tell you to do that in the sew over it pattern, because one of my first Eve dresses that I made, that was my problem with it. So I'd hemmed it and everything as the pattern said, and then as I wore it the hem just stretched basically and I ended up with like a really wonky hemline. So the changes I made, just to remind you, was to shorten these little flutter sleeves, and then I'm going to put the dress on the table in a minute so that you can see the bottom of the hem. I can't quite work out how to show you this properly, but I will put some pictures in as well so you can see the dress on me. And then I just rounded off the two front pieces. Another change I made that I didn't say I was going to make was just to narrow this belt a little bit as well. The belt pattern pieces are actually quite wide, but I didn't want mine quite so wide, so I've just basically cut that in half widthwise, and it's given me a little bit of a narrower belt, which I prefer. So I've actually just put her on a chair next to me and lowered the camera a little bit in the hope that you'll be able to see the hem properly. So here's the curved hem at the front. So it's just a slight curve really, and I do think I could have perhaps gone a little bit higher with that just to give it a more defined shape. But to be honest, once I'd levelled out the hem and everything, I just couldn't be bothered to even attempt to do anything else that might stretch it out even more. So I'm actually really pleased with how that looks. I think it's just quite delicate, and I won't have any fear of it kind of blowing open and exposing me because the hem isn't too high. Actually, if I lift it up like that, you can see better, can't you, that that curve is just there. So yeah, really pleased with that as well. And I just think it has worked really well in this fabric actually. I just think it hangs nicely. It's really nice to have a project like this sometimes, because for me it's a real exercise in patience, because I'm really quite, once I get started on something, especially if I've got an idea for a hack or something that I want to try out, I really just want to keep going and going until I get to the end to see how it turned out. But obviously with something like this you have to do it over a few days, and it's good for me sometimes to just slow down and take my time and not rush. So thanks so much for watching everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really like to make this kind of project actually. I really like to sort of get inspiration from Pinterest or the high street or something, and then try to recreate the garment or make something similar. So if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, then please do let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and please do give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Have a lovely day everyone, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.